Rev your engines and fasten your seatbelts. It's time for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey, keeping you up to date on everything going on this season at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now, here's your host, Dan Bailey.
Welcome back, race fans, to another edition of Thunder Talk on WINONA Sports Network, 99.3 FM, and streaming live via WINONARadio.com. I'm Dan Bailey. We are staring down the barrel of another great Friday night of dirt track action at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. But before I give you the details of tonight's dirt track action at MTS, and before I introduce to you our guest on this week's edition of Thunder Talk, let me remind those of you who are tuning in via the Mississippi Thunder Speedway YouTube channel to like this video, subscribe to the channel, offer any thoughts, input, questions, comments down below, and don't forget to click that bell so that you are notified of future offerings via the Mississippi Thunder Speedway YouTube channel. This evening, we are looking at welcoming back the WABAM Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series for the second time this year with the Rumble by the River 40 presented by Herco and Stone Machinery. Now, this is a big one. 10 G's to win, 10 grand on the line for those competitors who are going to be trying to get themselves into victory lane so that they can be crowned king. Joining the WABAM Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series competitors on the big third mile this evening will be our own River City Manufacturing USRA Modifieds, a second class of late models, our Buffalo Saloon USRA Late Model Division, and the Black Horse Bar and Grill USRA B Mods. All of this fun kicks off this evening with hot laps at 6:45, first green flag immediately following the opening ceremonies at 7:15. And I'm happy to welcome to this week's edition of Thunder Talk an individual who's going to be trying to get down into victory lane so that he can wear that crown. Former Dirt Kings Tour champion Justin Ritchie, driver of the number 70. Justin, welcome to this week's edition of Thunder Talk.
Thanks for having me.
As a former champion of this touring series, my first question is your thoughts of this series that the Schultz have put together. The Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series seems to be growing each and every year, getting a little bit better every season. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome thing that they're doing for late models in general. I mean, in the Midwest. Otherwise, you just kind of only have your home tracks to race at and stuff, and it's a pretty cool deal to go race at other places. I mean, otherwise we probably never get to come over to Mississippi Thunder and race. So it's a pretty cool deal that they put together, and we enjoy all the travel and we get to do with it.
You know, I mentioned that you are a former champion of this tour. Back in 2020, you were able to pick up the championship for the Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series. How do you compare that championship with any other successes that you've had behind the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely right up there with one of the top things I've ever done. I mean, I won track championships and all that stuff, but to be able to have the skill set, I guess, to say that you went to all these different type of tracks, high banks, short tracks, all that stuff, and come out at the end of the year. I mean, that's a pretty impressive deal in my eyes, I guess. I mean, it's definitely up there with one of the best highlights of my career to win that championship and hang on, I guess, and hopefully we can do it again.
You brought up something interesting that I've noticed talking with the tour regulars. The Dirt Kings Tour really is kind of an Eastern Wisconsin tour, and we are so happy that you guys are kind of stretching your legs and coming over here to the west side. But you brought up a point that I've noticed several of you drivers have mentioned. Not only is it different tracks that you have to visit, but it's even a different type of surface, a different type of clay, a different type of dirt from Eastern Wisconsin tracks over to Western Wisconsin tracks. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, the dirt's different. The characteristics of the dirt is different. It's a whole different ballgame. We go from places that are quarter miles that are the sandiest, slipperiest place that you can hardly even touch the throttle to a place like Mississippi Thunder. I mean, early in the night, that place is bad fast, elbows up. I mean, you got to get after it, and it makes you a pretty well-rounded race car driver at the end of the season.
As a driver, do you enjoy that, or is it frustrating, having to figure out each new track that you go to as part of the tour, or is that something that breathes a little novelty and newness into each and every weekend?
Yeah, when we started doing it, it definitely breathes a little bit of life into the Dirt Kings deal. When it was already established when I went back late model racing, and it's definitely pretty cool. I mean, I really enjoy that. You have to, I mean, every racetrack you race a little differently, and you got to figure out what makes you fast there and stuff like that. So I think that's a pretty cool deal. I really like the high speed places, but you got to be good at those slow places too. So I think it's a pretty cool deal.
Looking at your run with the Dirt Kings Tour, you've had some pretty good years here these last few years. 2019 you were in the top 3, 2020 you were the champion, 2021 you were in the top 5. Here we are in 2022. You're currently second, right behind Mr. Tour himself, Nick Anbeling. So how do you rate this 2022 season against all those in the past? Now I know it's tough to put it up against the 2020 championship, but you're second in the standings right now. Do you feel like you're right where you need to be as we kind of move into the last few events of this tour?
Yeah, I think we're sitting pretty good. In 2020, we actually won the championship and never won a race on the tour anyways, and that's kind of where we're sitting so far this year. We've got a few seconds and runner-ups, the top 5. I mean, we were in the top 5 all the time, and that's all you can do. You just take every race as it is and try to get as good a finish as you can, and at the end of the year, it all shake out. I think that it's definitely doable. Nick's really running good right now. Mr. Avalink is he's tough to beat. He goes everywhere he is. He's really fast, so we'll just keep our nose to the grindstone, and hopefully we can maybe get a win or two here before the year's out and give them a run for it.
You brought up an interesting point about how in 2020 you didn't have any tour victories, and yet you were able to collect the championship. Here you are in 2022. You haven't gotten a win yet, but you're only 16 points out. I mean, does that make you feel like this could mirror 2020, or is this year been, even though you're second in the standings, has it been a little bit frustrating that you haven't been able to get into victory lane quite yet, but yet you're still this close in the point standings?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, you just got to take every night for what it's worth. We've had some races that I felt like we were good enough to win, and we ended up with a top 5 finish. Circumstances, I mean, everybody's so good nowadays. The first night at Mississippi Thunder, we were there this spring. I mean, I finished second to Jake Tim, and Jake's the man over there, right? I mean, he knows when to change his groove, and he's probably got more laps than all of us combined over there. I mean, he knows that place, and he's a stellar race car driver. I mean, he's tough to beat. Going into that place, he's one of the favorite on any night you roll in there. So to finish second to him, you can't hang your hat at that, right? I mean, so we'll just take them for what they're worth and keep on rolling, I guess.
Those of us who go to Mississippi Thunder Speedway each and every Friday night only get to see you tour regulars, when you come over with the Dirt Kings Tour, or maybe if there's another late model special in the area, we might be able to see you. So for those who may not be real familiar with you as a late model star, what's the regular season look like for you in addition to following the tour?
My car owners are from down by Plymouth Dirt Track, and that's kind of their home place. And I am approximately a half hour from the Shawano Speedway where I live. So we kind of jump back and forth between those two and then run the Dirt King stuff. We like to come out west as much as possible. We like to run Cedar Lake and that type of stuff when there's specials like the Masters and things like that. So I guess the only thing we really run for points is the Dirt Kings, and then we just kind of run around whatever makes sense for our schedules, what pays good and what makes good sense for a good swing for us to go to.
How about sponsors on the number 70 as you move through this 2022 season?
We got a pretty good group of people that help us. Cunis RV come on board last year with us, and they're a heck of a group of people to deal with. And then MB Customs Race Cars, Jimmy and AJ and all them guys over there. I mean, Chris with CMD Shocks and that, they're amazing people that help us out, keep us running up front all the time. Tim's Automotive, we run a Tim's Automotive with soda motor, no problems and great power, and that's all you can ask for. A few other places that help us out would be Meyer Electric. They're based out of down by Plymouth. Station 2 Bar, they're racing people, and they love racing, and they're on board with us. They've been on board since the beginning, and pretty much everybody else that helps out with this deal. I got to thank the Scheffner family. I mean, Scheffner Farms and Kale and Les and the whole family, they let me drive their hot rod, and it's a joy to do it. I mean, they just let me go and race, and we do whatever. We race as much as possible, and I like to do that.
In talking with drivers, it doesn't matter what division we're talking about, from the highest open late model divisions down to a little 4-cylinder division. Drivers just love to race, and that's what you just said. You just love to drive their machine, and you like to get out on the track. But I am curious about when you're on the track, does there seem to be some other competitor that when you're side by side or you're battling for position, it just seems to be a little more fun? Is there somebody that you really love battling against, regardless of what track you're at? Doesn't matter if you're battling for the lead or for 15th place in the running order. Is there somebody that you just get a grin on your face when you pull up alongside of him and you think to yourself, oh, this is going to be fun?
I also race a modified at times, and I mean, there's battles no matter where you're at or who you're racing with and stuff. As long as it's a good, clean, hard battle, That's all that you can ask for as a racer, in my opinion. I mean, everybody's trying to get every inch they can get, right? If it's a fun, clean race, like you said, it don't matter if you're racing for 10th or if you're racing for the lead, right? I mean, to get out and afterwards and maybe shake hands and have a beer in the pits afterwards, that's pretty much the coolest thing I think that you can have happen. It don't really matter who it is as long as it's a good, clean race and it's afterwards everything's cool, right?
Well, Justin Ritchie comes into this evening's Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series event at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Second in the point standings, just 16 points behind Nick Anvilink. This evening is going to be a big one. The Rumble by the River 40, presented by Herco and Stone Machinery. $10,000 to win for the WABAM Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series. And then joining the Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series, our own River City Manufacturing USRA Modifieds, our own Buffalo Saloon USRA Late Models, and our own Black Horse Bar and Grill USRA B-Mods. Justin, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Wish you the best of luck this evening, and thank you very much for joining us this week on Thunder Talk.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I hope we see a whole bunch of fans there and we put on a heck of a show for them. Maybe come home $10,000 richer.
That would be the highlight of the night.
That's right.
That was Thunder Talk, keeping you up to date on everything going on at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
You ever notice that when you're on a fishing trip, you drive your boat all the way to the other side of the lake because you think that's where the best fishing is? And the people staying at the cabins on that side of the lake, well, they come and fish where your cabin is. You don't have to drive a long ways to catch the big fish. And at Arcadia Motors, you don't have to drive a long ways to get the best deal on a new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram truck. The best deals are right in the bay next to your cabin. Take the short, scenic drive to Arcadia Motors. ArcadiaDodge.com.